Hoka, hey, Alita Army. Welcome to the Alita Livestream of July the 26th, 2024. How the URM could have won the Battle of Zalem, where we discuss all things to do with the movie Alita Battle Angel, the source manga Gundam, and the greatly desired sequels. I am your host, the Muskogee Creek, or Creek Indian, from this week in Linville, North Carolina. Usually it's Denver, Colorado, and it will be Denver, Colorado next week. And with me, I have Lee, and he's from Fountain, Colorado. How's it going, Lee?
Oh, hey, not too bad.
Cool. And then there's Smendrick. He's from Deutschland, and I guess you're up near Frankfurt somewhere, aren't you, Smendrick? I'm not sure. I can't remember.
We have two Frankfurts. I'm closer to the not well-known Frankfurt
okay.
than my okay, now I'm telling you the big Frankfurt is my place of birth.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, but I'm no longer live there.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything is nice. Okay, Creaky, and hello, Hunter Warriors out there.
Yeah. And
hope you are all fine.
You betcha. And we also have with us from the Shires in the Western UK, Vladdy. How's it going, Vladdy?
Good evening. Not too bad. Not too bad. Weather's pretty crap as usual. As the Paris Olympic opening ceremony got a taste of that today, which was very funny to see.
Yeah, we were just talking about that pre-stream about, Lee and I were talking about it, and then Smendrick came on how you were doing a stream and you paused the stream so y'all could watch the opening ceremony of the Olympics.
Yeah. Because I thought it'd be finished way before then, but they drag these things out for hours and hours.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
And then it's like, and then they were stuck watching this guy give a speech for like half an hour. And I just wanted to see the cool light show from the Eiffel Tower, which was actually really cool. It was worth it.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty sick, man. It was great. Let's move on then. Now, here's our main topic. The main topic here is, if you remember from the movie, and just to kind of set all this up, and then I'm going to play a little video of the Battle of Zalem. If you remember when I guess Hugo and Alita and Koyomi and Tanji, they were going to the URM ship. Hugo was explaining to Alita, what that whole process was. Because remember, Alita, even though she fought in that war in the movie, she has no memory, so she doesn't know it, So he was telling her, that there were, I think it was 12 cities, sky
12.
cities.
We even had a stream about how stupid that sounds. There's just way too many orbital elevators.
Exactly. Yeah. In other words, every 30 degrees, around the equator, you got a sky city.
They decided 12. That's a nice number, like 12 months, 12 apostles, 12. You know what? 12 elevators.
Yeah.
Well,
go home or go big or go home. They should have stayed home.
Well, what's significant about 12 is that means the angular, I guess, orientation around the Earth is 30 degrees. So in other words, that it's evenly spaced in 30-degree increments all the way around the Earth. Because, as you know, a circle's got 360 degrees in it. So if you have 12, that's 30 degrees. So
that's way too many, though.
It is. It definitely.
If they wanted to have more than in the manga, like I could have accepted 6. Why the hell do you need 12?
Well, I would say probably the most you would want is 4.
But, 4 is a reasonable.
Yeah.
2 is the original number. 4 is a reasonable number. 6 a little overboard, but hey, why not? 12. Now you're just going stupid. You're just trying to prove we have the most elevators out of any country, out of any planet. Yes, but why?
Where did it say that? Was it in
the book?
Where does it keep? It's in the movie.
In the novelization, there's 12.
In the novelization, yeah.
It's not in the movie, though, is it?
He kind of
No.
mentioned, he doesn't
No.
mention the number specifically.
Yeah, the
but he said-
novelization and the movie aren't fully compatible.
yes.
No, there was some license taken.
The
I
novelization.
thought it might have been in that the history in the special features when they go, and not just none of that makes sense. I thought it might have been from that.
Well, I think
The
the
book,
idea
I
was
think-
they did. It's kind of like Channel says. They kind of came up with a big number, to make it sound like that Earth is, I guess, was maybe a super advanced culture at that point, society, and then it would, if you could put up 12 cities like that, which means you would have to have probably 12 Jerus, or some kind of orbital ring like they have, like in the manga. And then they'd have to be hooked to the orbital ring somehow. They didn't go into that in the movie too much, but you would have to have, it had to be paired like that. And what that would mean is if you got 12, that means you really got 24. Because if you remember, we've had a couple of streams on this about the physics of this, is that, Jeru, as an example, is in geosynchronous orbit above the Earth. And and Zalem is like 2 miles above the surface of the Earth.
Now I got to ask.
Yes.
Is it 12 as in 12 counting both the bottom and the top city, or 12 counting the amount of elevators? Because every elevator has
Yeah,
two cities.
I don't know. They don't go into that, do they? So
Because if it's 12 elevators, then that gives us 24 cities. But if it's 12 cities, then that only gives us 6 elevators. So we're back to a less stupid number.
Yeah, that's right. But they don't really go into that, do they? We don't really know, so
until they explain, I'm hoping it's 12 cities and 6 elevators, because that sounds significantly less stupid.
Yeah, and it would take a tremendous investment to build. Well, it would take a big investment to build, 6 of these things, 6 pairs.
I disagree with that.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
Once you've got the technology and materials to build one, you're going to have it a much easier time of building any more after that, because you're already in a position to easily do it.
I mean, you're not in a
would
position
agree to
necessarily to
this.
easily do it,
Yeah.
but you are in a position to do it. So now you're improving on a method that you already know at least kind of works.
Yeah,
Well,
but
I'm
look-
still going to have to disagree with that. According to the aerospace engineers at NASA that have been working on these projects, once you get one out of the way, the rest are easy.
According
they're easy,
to,
but
I don't remember which space agency, but they said on the news in 2021 that by 2025 we would have a space, we would have a permanent space station. I don't remember if it was on the moon or on the Mars. I think it was going to be the Mars landing.
I bet
we're not
don't.
quite
Why
there
haven't we
yet.
got back to the moon?
2025 having a colony on Mars. That sounds pretty aggressive to me. I don't know if we got the technology for that yet.
Yeah,
but
that kind of sounded far-fetched then, and it sounds even worse now. So
now I would say 2030 might be more reasonable.
Well, that's the thing. It's not a technology problem that we have. It's a politics problem.
Yeah,
Yep,
and
exactly.
economies,
Look
economies
at
of scale too, right?
Look at the current thing with the moon. Every single nation or unity, or I don't know how to say this, tries to start a kind of competition
Yeah.
to the
Well,
others.
Kind of like
So-
it was in the 60s, right? With the moon,
Yeah.
moon rays.
Yeah, and
exactly.
look at now the run to the moon. Japan tries to, for the second time
Yeah. I
within
think
a
too, right?
very short period to explore the moon, the
Yeah.
backside of the moon, and whatever. What's this for? You can ask this, yeah, but you cannot change this politics.
We need to mine that sucker.
Well,
Yeah.
here's the thing, though, and Lee.
what's on the moon that's so mineable, though? Because
Helium
again,
3.
Helium.
Okay,
Haven't you
yeah,
seen?
helium,
haven't
that
you
is very
seen Moon?
useful.
Yeah.
But
But
for
Lee,
the
that-
planet, okay, moon's not a planet, but for the space bodies that aren't as well explored, we don't really, we know helium. With the other ones, we don't really know how much of them has useful mineable materials. Like there's definitely something, we have no idea what and how
Yeah,
much
it's
of it
only
is
this.
useful to us.
The entire thing is only for the competition, being the best, being better than other nations.
I mean,
all.
that's why the space race happened at all, to prove we're mostly between the US and the USSR, to prove who's better, like who can get
Yeah,
to
yeah,
space
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
first.
crazy. It's
Yeah.
absolutely crazy, but we
It's
cannot
not kind of like
change
that now.
people.
It can't. It's not going to be like that now on a nation. I mean, certainly nations will, but it's also going to be commercial entities doing this. But Lee, I want to go back to something Lee said a while ago. That I agree that in the economies of scale, if you do more and more things, it's not as difficult. But it would still take more investment to do 12 floating cities than to do one. You know, although it won't take 12 times as much, might take 3 times as much, you know, maybe.
Well, the materials to build them are already out there. We don't need
That's
to use any of
true.
the stuff on Earth.
But you still,
And we've got technology right now that could get us to Mars and back in a
yes.
matter of weeks. They just
Yeah,
don't want to
yeah.
use it
Yeah, that's
because
right.
there's all this political red tape and other BS that's in the way of using it.
Yeah.
Okay, the advantage.
But it would
could
still take more investment though to do multiple cities. It wouldn't
Also,
be
we
as
take-
much. Wouldn't be
maybe
as
this.
much.
Maybe the advantage could be if you try it other than the others, you can share the experience.
Yeah.
And if you have 12 tries, for example, maybe the half, maybe 6 fails, but you can learn from the other 6.
Yeah, that's right. And
You
I
have
think
to
that's
remember the space elevators, because they're counterbalancing each other, you have to
Yeah.
build the two on the opposite sides at the same time.
Actually, you
Yeah.
don't.
You don't.
No. According
no.
to the, according to the people who actually work on this stuff, once you get one space elevator balanced in a geosynchronous orbit,
Yeah,
it
you
stays
can
there on its
build
own.
down, right, Lee?
Yeah,
So it's just the ring that has to be okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that
I mean,
makes,
that's
yeah,
the thing. You still might want multiples
Yeah.
out of consideration for military power. I mean, if you are in
or
a
just for
arms race with other planets and colonies,
Yeah.
then you might need to, or feel the need to build all these other facilities out there as shipyards, repair facilities, and for defense.
Well, for
I was
redundancy
thinking
and resilience
redundancy for
too, you know?
trade, but for
There is
trade,
that as
so
well,
we
yes.
don't end up with a space
This
version
is
of what
okay.
happened with the canal that got blocked by a sideways ship.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, to Lee's point too, is that
But
if you had
I understand
just,
why there would be multiple, but 12 is just, you technically could build, we absolutely have the technology to build 10 airports around one city, but there's no city that has 10 airports. Like really, some cities have 5, but is there a city on Earth that has 10 airports? We have the technology to do it.
well, I know around Denver they got more than one airport. They got
Yeah, like I say,
they've
there's some
got
cities with
at
up to
least
5 airports,
they've
but
got at
you
least
don't
4
need
that I
10.
know of. So, but anyway, to Lee's point, one of the things when he brought up the military part of it, one of the things that you want if you want to have an advanced civilization that needs to protect itself against other, you know, against enemies, interstellar or planetary enemies, by having multiple cities like that, your culture, your society is more resilient, because you take out one city, there's still some others. You know, I mean, if you only have one city and you take it out, then you've destroyed, you know, pretty much a good part of the society, you know, that's maybe dependent on various things from the city, you know. Now, whether it's 12 or not, you know, I think in the movie it is 12, but you know, we could argue all day about that. I do tend to agree with you, Channel, that 12 is kind of a big number. You know, I don't think it would cost 12 times as much to put up 12 as it would 1. You know, it's not 1 times 12, but but it would still be a somewhat of a considerable event, investment. But what would be the reward for it? Well, you'd have this resiliency or redundancy against kind of planetary enemies or something like that. Because if you remember in Alita, you got the people on Jupiter, there are people on Mars, or there was, and people that are in the floating cities around Venus. So there's 3 potential enemies right there. Anyway,
Also, if you're going, if you have this many, you're probably gonna want to use separate elevators for military purposes and separate for trade purposes, assuming you both are happening at the same time. It's not like the planets aren't completely cut off from each other trade-wise.
yeah.
If you would probably be using different elevator for commerce and a different for military actions.
Perhaps you could, but you could probably do some of that, because right now, military, they buy materials from the private sector. I mean, it's not.
And they absolutely do.
Yeah. So what? But transporting it in that kind of advanced civilization, yeah, who knows? I mean,
I'm talking more about how shipments from factories don't really usually arrive to military ports.
Yeah, they don't. That's right, because you have shipyards and military airports and
shipments
stuff like that.
from a closed workshop in China don't come in from military port.
Okay, I want to bring this back to the Battle of Zalem. I mean, this is really good discussion, and maybe this is something for another stream. You've given me a great idea on this. But in terms of the Battle of Zalem itself, if you remember from the movie, Hugo said that Zalem was the last city, was the only surviving city after the Great War with Mars, the United Republics of Mars. Now that's a movie only thing. In the manga, there is no United Republics of Mars in the manga, but in the movie, of course, there is. So Earth and Mars had this big war with each other. And although it kind of seems like the war was a stalemate or maybe a draw,
there's still beeping. There's beeping in the background. Someone's got something beeping.
Let's see. I'm going to mute my mic.
Oh, is it me? Wait. We had this time ago. Tell me, channel, if it's gone.
Yes.
Smendrick,
you're using that thing you used to use, Smendrick.
Man, but I have.
That's all right.
To
Smendrick, I can't hear the beeping myself, so
it's kind of quite and very high pitched, but it's definitely audible.
Yeah. Sorry, but I didn't connect it to this port.
Because it used to happen, then you fixed it, didn't you?
Yeah, you did fix it, didn't you?
Yeah, and since then I didn't change anything.
Yeah.
Oh well, we'll don't worry about it, Smendrick. We'll live with it. So, but anyway, I want to get back to the Battle of Zalem here. Now, if you remember the Battle of Zalem, just from the movie. Now, we don't have a lot on this, but based on the movie, remember there was two battles that we saw in the movie. There was the battle on Mars. I mean, on the moon, rather, not Mars, on the moon. And I got this distinct impression that the URM won that battle. Okay. And we had a stream on this here about 3 or 4 months ago. But the Battle of Zalem, and if there were 12 cities, that means there were 12 battles, the URM won 11 of those battles, but they lost the Battle of Zalem. Now, the overall war, I think, was pretty much a draw, I think.
I think it may have been mutual destruction.
Yeah, I think so, Oh, we lost Smendrick. Wow. But anyway, yeah, he's probably fixing his mic. But anyway, I'm going to play this little video. It's from the movie, and we're not going to get yeeted because I've already checked it out. So anyway, here, you guys will all recognize this.
So epic.
Yes.
Defend
The cinematography now with the light.
Amazing, isn't it?
Twist like both. Magically appearing Galdo in 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
I was a bit ahead of time there.
Destroy Zalem.
Now you got the idea there. You see now the supply tube certainly was destroyed, but based on all of those berserkers getting wiped out, except for Gelda and Alita. Now, if you remember about berserkers, they were such powerful soldiers that probably Gelda and Alita probably had it within their capability to do some inflict some serious damage. To
Probably they
Zalem.
definitely.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No, what was that?
Is it probably it's pretty much definitely.
Yeah.
Because even if they couldn't from the outside, if the design was very well enforced, once they got inside, there's no way the entire city is berserker proofed. Maybe
Yeah,
the
exactly.
outside is berserker proofed, but once you get into the actual servers or the residential areas, there's no way everything there is berserker proofed. In fact, most stuff isn't.
Yeah, well, if you remember what Ito said about Alita, that she was the most advanced cyborg weapon ever created. And those berserkers, they're superhuman. They're gonna regular soldiers aren't going to stand a chance against them.
You get a powerful weapon system like that inside a enemy facility. There's going to be a lot of soft bits in there that are going to be able to do some serious harm.
And even if there are soldiers in there, there's Smendrick. Smendrick's back with us. Did you fix your mic?
Okay. I removed the extension cable. Please, channel, check
There's
it.
no beeping now.
Nice.
Okay.
Thank you. There's no beeping.
You fixed it.
Yeah.
But anyway, looking at that video, looks like the URM lost that battle, didn't they? It kind of feels like they did. Now we don't know what happened with Alita. Now we do know Alita certainly ended up in the scrap pile. And we don't know what happened to Gelda. So probably it'd be what I think is that they were captured. They may have gotten into Zalem and created havoc and maybe taken out a whole bunch of different soldiers and caused a lot of destruction. But eventually they were captured. And then, of course, Alita was thrown over the side. God damn it. Sorry about that. My damn phone.
Me.
Potential spam, you think?
It could be Rosa calling to say, yeah, I'll take the bus. I'm ready. I'll meet you after the show.
I thought I muted the damn thing, too. Jeez. But anyway, that's another story on my phone.
What a boring ringtone.
Yes.
Should be like Swan Song or something.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. But anyway, I think that the URM lost that battle. And particularly since Zalem is still in the sky.
Yeah, since their objective was to bring the city down, they didn't.
They didn't.
Yeah.
Now the other 11 cities came down, obviously, but this one didn't, so they lost that battle. Now, that was the way they approached it. You remember they had the squad going up the supply tube.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That looked like to me almost like a frontal assault, which is a lot of times not a good thing to do for soldiers, because and I kind of got the impression maybe that their intel, for Zalem may not have been that good. Maybe they didn't know that there was a defense ring, or if they did, maybe they underestimated its ability.
Or they just didn't prepare properly for it.
Yeah, they didn't prepare for it. Yeah. Now, that one berserker yelled defense ring, so they knew what it was, obviously. But yeah, they didn't know how to handle it. Now, what does that mean? Well, what it means is there were some other ways that they probably could have approached this that would have been less lethal to the berserkers. I mean, can you imagine that there was a squad there, and it was probably a dozen berserkers, I guess. You know, at least if it's a dozen.
And that may not
berserkers, I
have
guess
been the
it'd be
only
like,
assault squad going up those tubes. I mean,
Yeah.
there's multiple tubes.
they could have. That's right. Well, yeah, the other tubes, you know, were different. I'm just talking about this one tube.
Yeah.
They could have even had more than one squad going up that tube, you know, at some point. But now when the tube got cut in half by them shooting at it, you know, the way they did with those plasma weapons.
Well, it wasn't the weapons fire that did it. When they smashed the ring and it flew apart, it acted like a buzzsaw cutting through the tube.
Well, I mean, I think the ring though got destroyed by the plasma weapons, not the tube.
Oh yeah, the ring did. Yeah,
the ring was taken out by the plasma weapons. Now,
And the ring just like destroyed the tube
yes,
as it was
the
breaking.
ring
flew apart.
Yeah,
and
the
whipsawed
ring
through
cut
it.
it in half. Yeah, after they shot the crap out of it. you
Not a
know.
very strong tube. If the defense ring is what breaks it.
That might actually be why they went up. They were expecting that the fragility of the tube would have meant that the defenders may not have
They
been
wouldn't
willing
risk it.
to risk it. Yeah.
Interesting. Never thought of
Yeah.
that.
Because they got their supplies from it, didn't they? Up those.
Yeah.
Seems like the primary method of getting supplies. Yeah. I mean, at
Yeah,
this
for
point,
sure.
I'm not sure if they were still. Actually, no. At this point, plagues may have already been released on Earth, so it could be that Zalem had at this point cut its physical connection directly beneath it
Yeah.
in order to prevent the plagues from reaching Zalem. So it
Yeah.
might be that the tubes are the only way to get in there.
Yeah. Well, I kind of thought though how the URM could have approached this differently and what they could win, you know. And of course, one of you see is that the berserkers themselves take a more evasive type of action. And I'm going to show you a video on, not a video, but an image of that. Certainly, one of the other things they could have done was instead of just doing an all-out assault on these cities, they could have just destroyed all the defense rings. And they would have starved them out if they'd have done that, you know. Now that would have been a longer term engagement, you know. I mean, like it'd be like
an extended siege like that.
Yeah, type thing. But they wouldn't be getting food, would they? So
Nope.
eventually they would be in big trouble, you know. And of course, just destroying the supply tube, that would
It could be there might have been defenses higher up in orbit that they were keeping occupied otherwise, and so they didn't
Could
have a lot
be.
of time because that
Yeah.
diversion may not have been lasting long.
yeah, and we don't have enough data, do we, from the movie
Yeah.
about how that was.
And
Now,
that's
I
what I was
got-
mentioning before. We don't really know what the defenders had to throw at them
Yeah.
to really get a good balance of what was going on there.
Now that destroying the defense rings themselves, because I believe, although it doesn't say this in the movie, but what I think, if you base this on what's in the manga or in the anime, they probably had more than one defense ring, you know,
Yeah.
on each supply tube. They could
I was
have
just thinking
dozens.
maybe an anti-tank weapon or something like that deployed.
Well,
with each
that's what I
squad.
was going to bring up. They might have, if they'd have had some kind of rocket launchers or something like that, because all of these berserkers only had plasma rifles.
But
you
again,
know.
if you destroy the rings, then they're probably going to do exactly what this one did, which was whipsaw through the ring or supply tube and cut it in half.
Unless for some reason they could blow the ring to bits, not just cut it in half like that, or you know, kind of just break it like
break
they
into
did.
small enough pieces that would just fall apart.
Yeah, exactly. And that would take, like you were saying, Lee, that would take some kind of what we think of in the military today as anti-tank weapons.
Yeah,
You know, that
something
would
used
that
against
would
heavy
be-
armor.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so you know, but that's one way they could have done it. And I did come up with a couple more after this too. I'll get to that. Now, another and we don't know that they didn't do this also, but they could have also just directly attacked the space elevator.
hmm
Because if they can cut that sucker in half, you remember in the manga that was what the Barjack wanted to do when they had that big ass
Yeah.
cannon, you know.
And
They
that
wanted-
might be what was preventing them from doing it, was some kind of a shield system along that
Could
space
be,
elevator.
yeah. But it seems to me that, you know, an advanced military like this, like the URM was here in this one, is they might have had some shield system to protect it. But you know, they could keep bombarding that shield until it finally just ran out of energy. You know, and then. And then, of course, and then just, you know, start attacking, you know, the actual material, you know, that the
unless it was being
elevator...
fed by a powerful reactor up in space, or from Jeru, as it's called.
Yeah.
And that could be they were trying to hit a soft spot where the defenses were weakest, which was closest to Earth surface.
Yes.
Zalem's,
yeah,
wasn't Zalem powered by thermal energy from... Wait, they used to get it from the shafts connecting to the surface. How are they getting it now? Or are all the...
Like I say, it could be some sort of reactors in orbit that are feeding it at that point.
Could be, or they could even be getting some kind of solar energy or something. Who knows?
That's the other thing. It turns out that you can get antimatter from the Van Allen belts.
Yeah.
Very tiny amounts of it. So it could be that there's an antimatter reactor on Jeru that is constantly being fed by the Van Allen belts.
Could be. Yeah, we don't know. You know.
At the end, towards the end of the manga, when Zalem falls, we get a brief mention that the power is restored to the surface from Zalem's power plant, meaning Zalem had its own power plant.
Oh, undoubtedly.
Yes.
But it could be there's a more powerful one up in space too.
Yeah, like,
and
what's Zalem's power plant running on?
Well, they probably had them cross-connected in such a way where they could have some redundancy, where if you take out one power plant, the other one, maybe some others kick in, you know, like generators do today. You know, I mean, maybe who knows what they had there, you know. But my thought is if they could take out the space elevator, if they could break that sucker in half, then Zalem's coming down. Now it's going to come down on top of Iron City is what it's going to do, you know, but it's coming down. And
it could be that there's some sort of an energy field that was connected between Jeru and Zalem. And so they were trying to break the connection so that it would bring that shield down, which would allow them to directly attack the space elevator.
And it could be that that's one of the things that the Berserkers were wanting to do. They wanted to get into Zalem and get to that reactor so they could shut it down. Yeah. You know, that could have been something else they were doing. We don't know what they actually... We know the mission was to destroy Zalem, but we don't know the specifics, you know, of how the tactics or how they were going to accomplish that mission. You know, we just don't know, you know. Another thought I had that didn't occur to me when I was making this, when I was putting together this presentation, was if they had some kind of weapon that could emit a very high energy EMP, that would take out all the systems, you know, I mean, that were actually in operation, you know, because if they had a weapon like that, and let's say the Earth Defense Force, you know, knew that they had this weapon, and they might be inclined to shut down all of the systems for fear of them using this EMP weapon against them. And when that happened, if they shut down the systems, that might take down the energy shield in which they could then attack the space elevator. But once again, we just don't know, you know, because they don't go into it, that kind of thing in the movie at all, you know. Sky Sitta, I mean, if you want, I think you said a while ago you had some thoughts on this. If you want to come on the stream,
I'm going to copy the link to her to their post, and you can just read it. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I think this Sky Sitta, I hope I'm not pronouncing that wrong. You can click on that link that you see right there in the chat, and I'll bring you in the stream. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll just paste the thing in anyway.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, Sky, if you want to come on, you can. You know, anybody can click on the link, and I'll bring you in. You know, so. But basically, those are the kind of there's 4 ways up there, and I added the EMP weapon after I'd already uploaded the presentation. Now, what does that mean? Well, in terms of the evasive action to be taken by the Berserkers, if you remember when Hugo died, that defense ring came down. Hugo almost made it over the ring. Now, he's not as strong as Alita, but look how high Alita has jumped above, those spikes that are in that defense ring. Now, my inclination is that Alita and Gelda were probably the best berserkers. Maybe they had the more capable bodies, but I can't believe that the other berserkers' bodies were still not capable of jumping over these rings like this.
Yeah.
So instead of like what happened in the battle, they might have been caught off guard or something like that, where that ring was on top of them, and then they started shooting at it out of instinct or something like that. If they would have just run at the ring and jumped over it like Alita did right there, that defense ring wouldn't have done anything. And they would have probably launched another one, but they'd have jumped over that, So they just keep jumping over these rings, until they run out of rings. And then they get up into Zalem, and a dozen or more berserkers in Zalem, that's going to be the end of the battle right there. Because I don't care if they have 100 soldiers or 1,000, a dozen berserkers are going to take them out, and then they're going to destroy the infrastructure and everything in Zalem, itself. So, anyway, what's y'all's thoughts about this?
I've also pasted the link to the Tumblr.
Oh, okay. Let me.
We can go through their case for it.
Okay,
It's interesting analysis.
Okay,
I'm just reading. I haven't read it all yet.
let me put that in there. I'm gonna put the Tumblr link in the public chat.
Just scroll down to the final image on the post.
Yeah,
I got a bit confused.
There it is.
I need to read the rest.
Anyway, that's my thought. One of the things that those berserkers could have done was just kept jumping over the rings. They all had this ability. Alita jumped over the ring with ease. Look how high above that thing she is. So what do you guys think? Would that be a plausible way to overcome the defense ring?
I would think, unless there were some sort of mitigating circumstances about that, like somebody mentioned, Badman mentioned, Alita was not wearing full combat armor here. So depending on how dense that armor was that they were wearing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we don't know that either.
Yeah.
Here's a question. Was she not wearing it for any actual reason, or is it just so we can recognize her? Because let's be honest, if she was wearing full armor with the helmet, it would not be as easily, the scene would not be as readable in the cinema. And a rule of movie making and generally storytelling is that sometimes being clearly readable is more important than realism.
Plus, she has plot armor.
Also, watching Behind the Eyes is great. Go read her take.
Yeah.
You should bring it up, Creaky, and we can go through it.
You want me to bring up
It's going to the theory of what if it's going to the theory or not that the Nova was originally from URM and betrayed them to side with Earth.
Because why did Zalem survive and all the other ones go down? We don't really know. One of their points.
Yeah, well, we don't. That's another thing. Let me share the.
But it shows that the URM had a good strategy because they killed all of them except for one.
Yeah, I'm not going to share the audio just in case. So can you guys see that?
There's no audio anyway. Yeah.
Oh, there isn't? Well, all right.
No, it's a text post with pictures.
You can literally just scroll down and read it.
Okay.
Can you close the pop-up? It's covering a chunk of the screen.
He needs a Tumblr account.
I don't have a Tumblr account, and I can't.
I'm pretty sure there's a way to close the pop-up anyway. Okay.
Let's see a cross.
I don't see a little X in the corner.
Damn it! Why is that now?
Grab, just scroll down then.
Just scroll down. Yeah, we can manage.
Install a pop-up blocker.
Yeah.
Looks like somebody is following us on Tumblr.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really know how they lost. That's a good point right there. We do have a pretty good feeling that they probably did lose because Zalem was still up there and Alita was in pieces and we don't know, and there is no Gelda.
Yeah, their whole
but they're
thing
right.
seemed to be bring down the city and kill Nova, and well, neither of those things happened. So.
None of those things happened. So yeah, but they are right. We don't know how the URM lost the battle. We don't know that.
Yeah, what
they had
factors played into that or anything like that?
Yeah. And they had a good overall strategy. Well, that's a good point because, and they mentioned 12 sky cities here. If you bring down 11 cities out of 12, I would say that's overall from an overall strategy, that's a successful strategy. If you brought down all but one, then I think you've met most of your objective at the very least. We don't know what circumstances other than what we saw just a little bit in the movie there that on the video how they lost. We just don't know. I mean, they got a good point there. And they were right. Looks like that the Sky Cities, if 11 out of 12 of them came down, they weren't that well prepared, were they, for it? And it could be that just maybe Zalem got lucky and won that battle, just that single battle. So so these are some good points right here. Who
Keep going.
Watching behind the eyes. Yeah. Nice.
Keep scrolling. There's loads more info.
Okay, Mars attack.
The other cities weren't as prepared to deal with the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like all the other ones were weaker, and they didn't have Nova leading them. Nova is just an evil genius.
Nova got too much plot armor.
Yeah.
That's right.
Nova found an exploit to expand his plot armor to the whole city.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
how they survived.
He has to survive till at least the third movie.
And it could be too. It's maybe it was nothing special about Nova, helping Zalem survive or win that particular battle. In that they just might have won it. They might have just got lucky. I mean, it could be. We just don't know. We don't know how that worked out. So anyway, stand up from other sky cities. Yeah, we don't know that. He would have been in charge of during the war. All the others got fallen to Zalem. But
interesting.
Yeah.
Nova, according to the novelization, Nova came from the same place as Alita.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the novelization, she was watching him train or watching her train.
Yeah.
He was watching her train.
So he must have had inside info.
So he knew it.
So much we don't know. We need all the.
That might have been one of the reasons they wanted him dead, is because he was a defector from the Martian republics.
Which
Exactly.
if he was a defector, that would explain, because he already knows the strategy that brought down the other cities, so he'd be able to prepare for it.
Or he might have just been such a genius and a major pain in the ass that they felt like they had to get him.
I feel like if he was dangerous, and because he knew something about the strategy, that he knew how to prepare for it. And none of the other cities without intel about how something about the Berserker works would have been able to prepare for it.
Yeah.
Because if Nova in this version was in any way involved in the creation of the Berserker, he would have been aware of any loopholes, how to defeat it, of the loopholes, shortcomings, of any specific weak points that could potentially defeat it.
Yes.
Something which, if it's very specific, then a random enemy scientist would not have been able to figure out, because Berserkers are so hard to capture and study. They destroy everything, but the man who created them would know what potentially could stop them.
Yes.
At least you have a better chance of knowing.
Yeah. Well, there's a good point right here on that very first sentence on this page, is that, that like he says here, he or she, URM was hell bent on killing him, which means, he was a high value asset to the war. I mean, for sure, he was maybe he did have a major role in Zalem's victory. Maybe the other sky cities did not have a Nova like they were saying there, that's a good point right there. They specifically trained the people to eliminate him, but it still wasn't enough. Yeah, that's right. Well, it certainly wasn't enough because the Zalem's still up there. So that definitely wasn't enough. Biggest mistake was made the way before the Battle of Zalem. Okay. According to the official novelization, Nova came from the same place. This is what you were alluding to, Channel, as Alita. He belonged to the URM's elite and observed Alita's training, just like you were saying. So the only mistake of the URM was we can be sure of was that they didn't prevent Nova's betrayal. Okay, so he came from the same place as Alita, and he is no longer supporting the URM or anything like that. Now he's on the Earth's side, and they did not stop that from happening. So that's a good point as well. Wow, this guy knows what he's talking. This person knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, really great posts on Reddit.
Yeah, it is. We don't know, however, if it was strategic genius, special tech, knowledge of URM secrets. Yeah, we don't know any of that. That's right, or a combination of all those. Nova saving Zalem from getting destroyed, but let me just highlight this. But they shouldn't have let him gain so much power in their society. Shouldn't have let him flee to Earth and turn against them. Yeah, that's right. Now, we don't know what the circumstance there is, how he did that. Maybe he had a really super great plan for getting away from Mars or getting away from the URM, so we don't know. They didn't put Noah in a baby jail while he was still on Venus, or on Mars, rather. Yep, gay baby jail. Love it. Okay, so yeah, that's a really good post right there. That's insightful, I think. Yeah, it doesn't still speak specifically, though, to how the URM could have changed their tactics, not the strategy. Their overall strategy was successful. They brought down 11 out of 12 of those cities.
It's hard to figure out how they should have changed their tactics when we have no idea what the tactic actually was.
Exactly. Well, that's true. That's true, but I would think, just looking at it with what limited knowledge we have now, is that we do know that there are some things, like, for instance, now we don't, it's kind of like Lee was saying a while ago, we don't know how much that combat armor weighed, so we don't really know if the berserkers would have been able to leap that high, but look how high she's up there. God,
well, somebody it was the bad man again. He pointed out that the more vertically the supply tubes get as you get closer to the city, it becomes much, much more difficult to jump over them.
Well,
and
not
Alita,
over
the defense
tube
ring
is still relatively horizontal up here. They seem to be way
yeah, that's
higher.
true, yeah.
So it's harder to jump.
Well, I have no doubt that the berserkers were strong enough to even get up that vertical tube. The problem is that as they got up closer to Zalem and they had multiple defense rings, the amount of time for them to react, for that to come down on them,
becomes shorter. Yeah,
it's shorter and shorter and shorter, and the closer they get, they're not going to be able to jump over it if it's vertical.
That's what he was saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, good points.
Can we use AI to make like flash games yet? We should make one where you just have Alita just jumping up to Zalem, like boing boing over all the supply sheet, over all the defense.
You don't need the ChatGPT to do a flash game.
No, sorry, I just use that for everything.
Going Super
I mean,
Mario
you can definitely find some kind of artist coder who will commission a flash game.
Yeah. You're right. Sorry.
Well, another thing they possibly could have done to take evasive action is they could have had, I don't know, some kind of jet packs of sorts. Although I do think Zalem's air defense system would shoot them down probably. So who knows? Yeah, this maybe not is going to be as good. I mean, it would be okay in the short run as they're going up the tube, but as they started going up more vertical, it'd be harder for them to evade that defense ring, because probably what would happen is Nova would hold maybe a couple of rings back until they got right up on it, and then he would let one of them go, and it would take out the rest of them because they couldn't jump over it, you know. Plan C.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be a plan C, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I actually kind of got the impression that this was, well, it was pretty much the end of the war at this point, so they were pretty desperate to do something to bring them down. So
yeah. Well, the idea too that they did bring down the other 11. What did they? No, we don't know this either. What did they do on those other 11 cities that maybe they didn't do here? You know, I mean,
for whatever reason, they may have expended more of their forces on them, perhaps some kind of operation that decoyed or drew attention of the URM to those other cities, thinking that they were more important targets first.
Yeah, it could be.
Possibly.
Yeah, could be.
Again, it's supposition, but
yeah. So I don't know. Now that I've got that up there, I'm not so sure this is, I mean, it's viable to a point, but once you get close to the Zalem itself, when the tube becomes more vertical, it's going to be hard to get around it.
If someone does make that flash game, then that could be used as like a difficulty, because a lot of games, the longer you play, the harder it gets, so you don't get bored. So that's a natural explanation for the difficulty. The tube's getting more vertical.
Yeah, the closer you're getting, the faster they come.
Yes.
Yeah. Someone should make that game.
Yeah, there could be a funny end as well where Alita like cuts off Nova's head or something.
I was just thinking too, from what I saw, they had artificial gravity control systems and things. There might have been some kind of gravity control mechanism either in the rings or in the tube itself that made it much more difficult to get any kind of distance in jumping. That for whatever reason, Nova didn't use it when it was just Alita and Hugo.
Could be. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I'm not. Well, here's the thing. This evasive action thing here maybe could have worked if they had, let me go back a slide, where we talk about destroying the defense rings. In other words, blowing them to bits. Well, let me go ahead and do that. Blowing them to bits so they would not, you know, take out the ring itself. I mean, take out the supply tube itself, so they could jump over a few of these. And as they got close, you know, then they could start shooting at the rings before they got released and blowing them to smithereens, maybe, you know, and that way they wouldn't have a ring once they got up near the vertical. That's possible. But
taking out the launch mechanism or something like that.
Yeah, but once again, we don't know that either. We don't know how many rings they had. I mean, they could have had like 24 of those things, and that'd have been damn near impossible, I think. So, but yeah, if they had like what we would consider anti-tank weapons or something with, you know, what we would call armor piercing incendiary rounds, although they had in the rocket launchers, if they had something like that or some kind of you know, armor.
They probably wouldn't want to use something explosive, because then you get shrapnel ripping into the tube that you're climbing up.
That's true. Yeah, they would have
some kind of beam weapon or something like that that would cut through heavy armor at very fast intervals.
Yeah. Well, all we saw was those plasma rifles. We didn't see any beam weapons. I mean, that would be, and we don't know what material that you know, we don't know the alloy.
Yeah, there's a lot of considerations, as well as the possibility of some kind of energy disruption field that might have disrupted a cutting beam of some kind. And so you had to use short pulses to overcome it. There are a lot of possibilities there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a heat round would be a good possibility.
Yeah. Or perhaps a weapon that would, say, jam it to where if you tried to activate it, it wouldn't release down the tube if you had a weapon.
I get the impression, though, something like this is a very simple device that is going to rely on gravity. So you'd have to have is some kind of manual release as a backup. So you just release the ring and gravity does the rest for you.
Yeah. But if you had a weapon that could screw up the tracks to where the ring would not would not go down the. I mean, yeah, the defense ring wouldn't go down the supply tube in those tracks. They maybe screw them up somehow. A weapon that could do that, perhaps. I don't know.
Maybe.
You know,
It could be. It was just like a ball bearing type device
yes,
that it was writing down on. So
Yeah.
it didn't. It was just a simple gravity driven device.
yeah. If that's all they had was gravity-driven device, that's going to be pretty tough to overcome. I mean, you could blow it up maybe, but
Very simple. Not a
Yeah.
lot to try to mess up on it. Very few moving parts,
yeah,
relatively speaking. Any.
they jam the radar.
Yeah.
Yes,
Only one man would dare give me the raspberry.
yes. But anyway, a combination of these two things, maybe. You know, I don't know. You know, I don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
And of course, now this is something that they did when they released the ring, and they got shot to bits by the plasma weapons. But destroying the supply tube itself, in other words, that ring basically destroyed the supply tube. So it seems to me there was some kind of weapon that they could use that they could, you know, still, you know, cut the supply tubes. And there were, I don't know how many supply tubes there are on there. Is it 6 or 8? Who knows? If they could destroy all the supply tubes, I mean, just cut them.
12. It's 12. It's stated in the manga that there's 11 because some kid is complaining. What 11? It's a stupid number to have been 10 or 12. And it's explained. Well, there used to be 12, but one got cut off, which is what we would. And the scene in the movie with the tube being cut off is based on that line from the manga that there used to be 12, but one got cut off.
Yeah.
So there's presumably 11, although you could just open a screenshot from the movie and count if you want to know.
Yeah. But the idea, though, here about destroying the supply tube, if they could destroy all the supply tubes that is holding, that's, you know, sending, you know, food and not medicine, but food and clothes and all kinds of cool stuff up to Zalem. They cut all the supply tubes. They could defeat Zalem without. They could just it'd be like laying siege to a city and starve them out. You know, that's unless they had some kind of food production like replicators in Star Trek or something like that.
It could also be there was some kind of time limit they were under that isn't clarified in the movie either. Like maybe Nova was working on some kind of super defense that they were trying to take him out before he completed it.
Yeah.
Some nanobot thing.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Oh crap! You know, in Jeru, when they have these nanobots that are specifically used, not really nanobots. They had the substance that slows down nanobots. What if that's something, or like the reverse of that is what was keeping berserkers from entering Zalem? If the air around Zalem had a specific nanobot cloud that was making the berserker bodies malfunction, so they can't function to their full extent.
That's possible. Some kind of limiting field.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and because the berserkers are a very specific work on berserker cells, they're not like typical cyborgs. Then that wouldn't act if you coded it right. It wouldn't be fucking up fully organic cells or normal cyborgs, but it would be pretty inconvenient. But it could be damaging to berserkers.
Yeah.
Not damaging enough to destroy them outright, maybe, but damaging enough so they'd be worse at fighting.
Well, yeah,
possibly forcing them to constantly
possible
regenerate.
To kill in other ways.
Yeah. That's right. Making them not as effective as a fighting force, I guess. Yeah.
And because it's not like an immediate boom, something's not working, they don't realize they're less effective until they've put themselves in a situation where they could only survive if they were as effective as they usually are, which they're not, which is what got them all killed off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm afraid.
Well, the idea of destroying this. Oh, okay, Lee. Well, thanks for joining us, man.
Well, thanks for having me. It was fun.
You bet.
You guys take care.
Yes.
See
Say hi to your girlfriend for us.
I will.
All right, man.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah,
Bye.
the whole thing
Do we know
about
his girlfriend?
say again, Vladdy.
Do we know his girlfriend?
Well, I don't know her. I mean, I asked him pre-stream how his girlfriend's doing. And he, you know,
Oh, okay.
so it's not. It's
I
not.
thought she might be part of the fandom or something.
No,
I didn't
no.
know.
Well, I think she's seen the movie, but I don't think she's part of the fandom.
Okay.
But anyways,
so
I
she
was
must
going
be
to
a fan
say,
anyway.
destroying the supply tube where it'd be something you do as part of a siege action, that's going to take a long time right there. It's kind of like what you guys were saying. If they're working up against some kind of time limit, that's not going to be a viable strategy, you know. Now, if they don't have a time limit, you know, of any kind, then certainly they could, you know, destroy all the supply tubes and starve them out. You know, that's basically the way that would work. So, and then of course we talked about this now in the manga. If you remember, there was that big cannon that they had on a rail car. They were going to shoot the, you know, they were going to shoot the space elevator. Yeah, and of course that didn't work out for them.
I think on somewhere the joke that what if Chaos was part of the Barjack all along, and he only split off not because of political reasons or because he's a pacifist, but because he got into a fight with them over whether or not Hank should look like some kind of instrument or be named after some kind of type of music.
Yeah.
Like, Hank, couldn't we have something more symbolic? No, then I'm leaving.
So anyway,
Go
ahead.
Probably not canon, but it's a funny idea.
So anyway, by attacking the space elevator itself, you know, the long tube, it's going to be 22,300 miles long. There certainly is going to be vulnerabilities in that, but I think it might have been like what Lee was saying, and a couple of you guys are saying, there might have been some protective energy field, you know, that protects that tube. So it might be very difficult to overcome that shield. So, you know, I'm not sure that, I mean, certainly if you had a weapon powerful enough, then, you know, maybe you can penetrate the shield, but that would, you know, certainly that would have been an option. But there might have been a reason why they were going up the tube, the supply tube like they were doing. We don't know that. They might have picked that for a specific reason. Could have been they were going to capture, I guess, Nova. And if you did break the tube itself or break the space elevator, bringing Zalem down, crashing it, it might kill Nova. And maybe they didn't want to. Maybe they wanted to capture him. But although I do think Gilda did say that he is the dragon that must be slain, so I guess that's not a viable, I guess, solution either. So, and then I guess the last thing
the question is, that was already asked in the previous stream, but still an important question. Is killing Nova the main business and killing Zalem the side mission? Like, we're killing Zalem because Nova's in it, or is destroying Zalem the main mission and killing Nova is the side quest? Like, we're only killing Nova because he's standing in the way of destroying Zalem. Which is the more important goal, and which is the means to that end?
Well, in a military action like that, when Gelda said, you know, finish the mission, destroy Zalem, that tells me that destroying Zalem was the number one mission. If they
but also there's the whole dragon that could be taken either way.
Yeah, but I do think since the mission is to destroy Zalem, maybe killing Nova is a kind of a secondary objective. You know, perhaps if they could kill him, that'd be great, you know. But they do want to bring Zalem down like they did the other 11 cities, you know.
So close to a baker's dozen.
Yeah. Well, it was exactly a dozen, but only 11 of the cities came down, so.
Yeah, one short, unless I'm getting mixed up. What's a baker's dozen again? Isn't that just 12?
13.
Oh, crap. All right. Just
and they did not have 13 sky cities.
No.
Thankfully.
Yes.
They needed to have an even number.
I agree with Daniel. I think 12 is.
I think
12 is outrageous myself, but you know, anyway.
It's kind of like in Rise of Skywalker when they just had like a million ships coming in just to like be like, yeah, this movie's gonna like top all the movies. We're gonna have a zillion ships.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of like that Star Trek series, Picard, when looked like Picard was going to get blown up, by the Romulans, and then all of a sudden a zillion ships show up out of hyperspace, with Captain Riker, or Admiral Riker at that point, having all of those ships and is going to take on the Romulans, and there was a zillion of those ships. So yeah, I guess. Anyway, one other thing I did think of and I mentioned is having some kind of EMP weapon that would disable all of the systems on Zalem. Now maybe they have some kind of defensive capability that would shield their systems from EMP. I don't know, but that would have been another possibility that they might have done. They might have attempted that, But can you guys think of any other way the URM could have won the Battle of Zalem?
I mean, the
I'm
best
not-
option is just slam a big ship into the tube between Zalem and Jeru.
Yeah, that could work.
That would have worked.
That would be their world's equivalent of 9/11,
Yeah,
except
9/11,
worse.
that shit.
Yeah. Yeah, a big starship, just crashing into the city, right? That would have done it. Or say crashing into a big ship crashing into the space elevator. That might have done it. Because if you break that space elevator, that city's coming down.
And then there'll be people in Iron City with conspiracy theories for decades to come.
Those that survive.
Be like, what really caused the collapse of Zalem?
Yeah. Yeah, those few that
Was it gay aliens?
gay aliens.
Was it Wi-Fi?
There was
Yeah.
gay aliens? Holy moly.
Was it secret parasitic mind controlling brainworms? Was it
Most
bug
likely.
people? Was it lizard people?
Lizard. Yeah, lizard people.
Uh-oh, we've gone too close to the truth.
Was
No.
it my math teacher not giving me an extension?
End the stream. End the stream. Shut it down.
No, not yet, body. We got a couple of other things to do.
Getting too close to the truth.
So can you guys think of anything else? I think we went over like 5 different things. And of course,
They just needed more Alitas.
yes.
If every single warrior was Alita, they would have won easily.
You're thinking like Eisenberg, and that clearly did not work out for him. Let's just make more
Yes.
Alitas did not work out for him.
No,
Oh.
it did not. He was he made 12, didn't he? Because Elf and Swerve.
Yeah, and one of them decided that that it's time to kill all the other ones.
Well, Zex wanted to kill all the others. I mean, he wanted to do that. He was AR6. Yeah, Gunnar, there were, well, actually, technically, there are 12 Android Alitas and in the Badlands arc, 12 Android Alitas and 1 Cyborg Alita. So technically, I guess you could say it's 13 Alitas. So, yeah, and the AR program is what Bigot Eisenberg wanted. He wanted to pattern, or he wanted to replicate, I guess, these 12 ARs, to fight and be as effective as Alita is fighting, except they'd be androids. So
they'd be more obedient and easier to repair if something happens to them.
yeah. Now, Avernaut says that they had starships and they could have just, nuked it from orbit, which they probably could have done that. Now, I don't recall. I thought that, that Venus and say Jeru, Earth, even Mars at one point, or Jupiter had considered interstellar space travel, but they did not. They elected not to do it. Is that right? Does that sound something channeled at the? Does that
From
sound...
what I remember, they were going. They created spaceships that could travel between solar systems, but they were considered later too dangerous, and the engines had to be disabled. And one of those ships was, I think, some of them were destroyed by terrorist attacks,
Yeah.
and some of them were converted to space stations with the
Yes.
engines disassembled. I think like some of those ships were destroyed by the Manhoof attack, which Alita was part of, and that's what ended the project and got all the non-destroyed ships converted into space stations.
Well, they could have taken one of those space stations and just, like you said, they could have rammed Zalem. You know, they could have done that. We don't know what kind of defense system Zalem had, if they could have prevented that, but that seemed to me that'd be a heavy lift for any society or any military to stop a big starship or spaceship like that that's coming at you at probably, who knows, 40 kilometers an hour or whatever, or more faster than that, 40,000 kilometers an hour. That'd be tough to take out, you know, before it rammed into the city. You know, I don't know, you know. And certainly they probably, I don't know what kind of weapons they'd have on it, but certainly to me, you know, using a starship or a spaceship like that and attacking it from a distance would be more effective than sending a bunch of soldiers up a supply tube. You know, I don't know. Any other thoughts, guys?
I'm not a military strategist, so I don't really know. But we've had some good theories.
Yeah.
Done
Well,
our best.
I'm not a military.
Eventually, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a
military strategist either, but you can tell by the way I'm talking.
Well, I'm not one either, but I was in the Defense Department for many years. I knew a little bit about it, but not enough to be considered an expert strategist. So, you know. Smendrick, are you still with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Now
I
you
think
were in the German
the
Wehrmacht, weren't you?
easiest. More in the oh man, how do you call this? Mars and Lars artillery rocket systems.
Yes.
But no, I think there would be a much easier solution for all of us, the best.
Yeah.
You remember 200 years before the battle, a company called Disney.
No, I don't know.
Yeah. They should. Yeah, it's not an important company, but if they would have listened to the so-called Alita army and sent the sequels, release and produce and whatever, re-release the movies, then could have learned from these movies how to win the Battle of Zalem.
Yeah.
If they released those movies, then they wouldn't be fighting Zalem at all, because Nova would still be on Mars rewatching and analyzing those movies.
Yes.
That's
right.
That's the famous last word.
And the internet would stretch between the Earth, Mars, Jupiter, and Venus. So you'd have a big ass internet with a lot of latency. All right, guys. I think we hit this one good enough. I think.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to talk about?
No.
No, you're ready. You're ready to get back onto Discord, aren't you, Bloody?
No, I'm ready to get
you want to go to bed?
bed?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I'm an hour before the other two people.
Channel, I am going to send you that invite as soon as we get off here. I promise.
For someone who's in a time zone where it's currently 2 a.m., I'm not even that sleepy.
Oh, I think I'm sleepy because I've been drinking so much caffeine.
World peace.
Yeah, because
through
you
Alita
drink, if you drink
Sequels.
caffeine too often, you actually get kind of immune to it.
I know,
Except
yeah.
not really,
Yeah.
because now when you drink caffeine, you feel the same way as you usually used to without drinking caffeine. That's because
very
what
true.
caffeine does, it numbs the connections in your brain that tell you you're tired. What your brain does then, it creates more connections to tell you you're tired. So now when you don't do drink caffeine, you feel the same as before when you didn't drink it. But if you stop drinking caffeine, well, now your brain has twice the amount of connections that say I'm tired. So until it fixes that, and you're gonna just be constantly tired, because your brain, if you quit coffee for long enough, your brain will get rid of some of those connections because they're no longer needed. But for a while, you will have twice the amount of connections that to inform you you're tired.
And then you have a shit night's sleep because of the caffeine, and then you drink more caffeine the next day because you're still tired because you had a shit night's sleep.
Well,
And
be
the cycle just
careful. If you
continues.
drink too much caffeine, it'll raise your blood pressure too. So you gotta be. You
Oh,
gotta
God,
use-
Yeah, everyone now has a good comment here.
Yeah. Oh, I love
But,
coffee. I drink the heck
yeah.
out of it. Oh, I love Avernaught's comment here. He says, 200 years, I don't think Disney will be around another 400 years. They carry on like they are now. Absolutely. I agree. I mean, God almighty, these people are making bad decisions. But yeah, you're right. You're right, Avernaut. That's for sure. All right. Well, I guess we can move on then. Did we miss anything? I don't think so, because Lottie wants to go to bed, and he doesn't want us to miss anything. But as you can see from that center panel there, Alita does love her Uncle Creek, and that's because he wants a sequel, and she wants a sequel, and everybody in the Elite Army wants a sequel. Actually, we want sequels. We don't want a sequel. We want sequels. And it's kind of like Gunnar said a while ago, world peace through Alita sequels. Absolutely.
Damn right.
You're sounding
Correct.
even more like a cult than usual.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, there's our queen right there, Rosa Salazar. Certainly, she's number one in the Creeks book in terms of being an actress. I mean, just really, God, she's good at what she does. That's for sure. I think, she should have got some kind of award, for her portrayal of Alita. I think that's just my opinion. Of course, I'm biased, as we all are, but
She did get one award.
Yeah, she did, didn't she? Yes, she did. So I'm hoping to see her too. In that play in Los Angeles. That's going to be kind of cool.
That's going to be amazing. I wish I could see her
Oh
live.
yeah, for sure. I wonder if they'll let her take pictures.
Oh yeah. So like she's gonna have her comeback soon. She'll be at the Imogen Awards. She's got this play coming up. Might be doing some promo for Captain America. She might even be at Comic-Con tomorrow. Although I'm not sure about that. I've got a gut feeling she's not going to be there.
Yeah, who knows? I wish I could have gone down there. I mean, if I had gone down there, of course I wasn't able to do it. But God, we'd have missed Radio Chaos streams 3 weeks in a row. So I don't know if anybody could have tolerated that. But anyway, there's our queen, Rosa, right there. Really super duper actress. And I want to give shout outs to Elle Lamont and Jesse Fisher. They brought Screwhead to life. And certainly all three of these ladies are really good at what they do. They are great professionals. And we want Screwhead to be in the sequel as well. I say this every week, but I want to see Screwhead on Alita's motorball team when she takes on Joshagon, and that's going to be kind of cool. And of course, that would require both Elle and Jesse, because Jesse's the most badass stunt woman ever, is what the report was. But anyway, also, as I say every week, these three are really good at what they do. They're super duper professionals, but it sure don't hurt that they're pretty, because they are. Okay, why is this image here? Well, that image is there because I like it, and I'm the producer, and I'm the stream manager, and that's why it's there. And to paraphrase Gruishka, I'm only here for our girl and the Alita Army. And of course, all of us in the Alita Army are only here for our girl. And that just brings us to one last thing, and that would be our call to action on my count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Film those sequels,
Film those
baby.
sequels, baby.
Well, that was all over the map, but that's
Our
okay.
timing's so bad now. Your countdown's too slow.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
just,
No,
it's a bit
it's
low energy. You've
correct
got to
for
like.
old men like me.
That's a good thing
Yeah.
El Lamont's here. She'd make us do it again.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, we'll see you next week on the Alita live stream, and we'll see you tomorrow on Radio Chaos.
Bye, guys.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
bye.